Hey friends, happy Friday, the 6th of September. It's nice to be with you. I'm Father Bill Hill, priest at Holy Spirit Catholic Community in Rock Springs, Wyoming. I'll share with you a reflection on the daily readings. The daily readings are linked below. Click the link, read the readings prayerfully, and then turn off the screen, spend some time with God before you move on to other things. We have readings from St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, as well as Luke's Gospel. Paul has kind of wrapped up in this first reading, has kind of wrapped up his first theme with the church in Corinth, which is division among them. Rhetorically, he's probably trying to smooth the water over right after having chided them for allowing rivalries to exist among them. And now he is calling them back into some of the values that they witnessed from him and what they experienced firsthand. So he speaks to them. Thus should one regard us as servants of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. How does it make you feel to think of yourself as a servant of Christ? Sometimes even a slave, right? Servants don't necessarily get to do what they want to. Servants oftentimes are overlooked and in the background. Servants oftentimes are incredibly skilled, but oftentimes not praised. How does it make you feel to be a servant of Christ? And the second side of it, how are you called to be a servant of Christ today? Likewise, a steward of the mysteries of God. Steward is an older term. We would probably use a term like a manager, right? A steward takes care of something that doesn't belong to them, like a manager might take care of something that doesn't belong to them. The job of a steward is to caretake it, to improve it, right? To steward it. How are you a steward of the mysteries of God? The saving grace inside us, the love that we have received, it does not belong to us. It's not us. It comes from God outside of us. We care for it. We make it grow. We improve it so that we can give it away to others and ultimately to God. But we are only stewards, caretakers, managers of what God has chosen to give to us. How will you today make an increase, a growth, an improvement on the gift that you have received of saving grace in Jesus Christ? Maybe, how will you give that away to others today? Yeah, I think that's good. The psalm response, the salvation of the just comes from the Lord. Obviously, that's what we're talking about, right? God willing, we are the just, the chosen ones. We are made justified in God, and our salvation comes from God. So we give praise to God, and we try to root ourselves and to live in that reality. Luke's Gospel. Again, all this week we've just been kind of getting used to being at the beginning of the public ministry of Jesus. We have the beginning of some disputes with scribes and Pharisee religious leadership. So they ask a question. Other rabbis, other schools have their students fast, as it is good in the law. And Jesus doesn't have any point of that, right? Like, why would there be a fast while the bridegroom is with them? Like, this is the time to party. They will fast in the future. And that's, oftentimes after the resurrection, after the ascension, Christian people have fasted. Sometimes 2 times a week, all year round, other times in dedicated times, like we might in Lenten times. You might think about fasting in these days. It may not even be a food fast, but are there things that are not helpful, that are getting in the way of your relationships with other people, with yourself, or with God? Maybe to put some boundaries on them and to allow God to say no more, so that you can focus more on right relationships with boundaries. Be mindful. Jesus tells us that he gets called a glutton and a drunkard. Being a follower of his was probably pretty interesting. How's the Lord wanting to show you goodness, blessing, and grace in these days? Then Jesus tells a couple of parables about new patches on old cloaks and new wine in old wineskins. Jesus is doing something new in God. And I continue, you guys have heard me say it, but I continue to hear those words of the book of Revelation, behold, I make all things new. What's Jesus wanting to do new in your life, in my life, today? How you feel about that? Sometimes that newness can be incredibly challenging. May we have eyes and hearts open to the renewal of God in our midst, and may that call us to go deeper in love, in faith, and in grace, in the goodness of Jesus Christ. Read those readings prayerfully, turn off that screen, spend some time with God before you move on to other things. If you would, pray for folks having a hard time, pray for peace in this world. God bless y'all.